The greatest thing about being an entrepreneur is just being able to shoot as high as you want and really do it within your own climate, within your own creative box without having any limitations, and being able to spread your wings as far and loud and high as you'd like to reach them.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining me for another episode of the Dave Bullis Podcast. For those of you who may have missed it, I was actually a guest on the Selling Your Screenplay podcast hosted by Ashley Scott Myers. And Ashley and I, we talked a lot about networking here in Philadelphia and sort of, how I'm doing my own thing here on the Dave Bullis Podcast. I will post a link to that in the show notes for everyone that is interested. Also coming up, I'll be the guest on Doc Kennedy's podcast, The Filmmaker Focus, and I'll be discussing networking again. So please be on the lookout for that link. I'll be tweeting it out as soon as it's up. But on today's episode of the Dave Bullis Podcast, we have a guest who's not a filmmaker, but it's a person that helps with LLCs. I know a lot of people have been sort of, messaging me and asking if I could get somebody who's more legal centric on just for an episode or two. Just someone to talk about like the legalities of some things, creating LLCs. How do you stay safe when you're making contracts? So this is actually going to be a pretty good episode because she not only does all the work on that, but she also is an entrepreneur, a small business expert, a speaker, and the CEO of CorpNet.com. This is episode 112 with guest Nellie Akalp.
You're listening to the Dave Bullis Podcast.
Hey, Nellie, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Hi, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Nellie, you are the CEO of CorpNet, and I wanted to, inquire more about your background because I see that you always have sort of had this entrepreneurial spirit. So I wanted to ask, Nellie, how did you get started, down the road to becoming the CEO of CorpNet?
Well, I've been in the industry for over 15 years and got into entrepreneurship back in 1997, right out of law school, when we found our first company, and have been in the same industry ever since. We grew our first company and sold it back in 2005 to a publicly traded company, and then took some time off, focused on my family and kids, and decided I was too young, too passionate, too motivated to take on an early retirement. So I got back into the legal document filing industry in 2009 and started my company, CorpNet.com.
So, obviously, the landscape of entrepreneurship has changed since, you first started in I believe you said 96. So, what are some of the things, that you've actually seen that have happened recently that have sort of have helped or maybe even hindered entrepreneurship?
Well, I think we're in a different climate than what it was like back in 1997. In 1997, when I started our first company, my corporation, it was at the birth of the internet age. So it was really easy to, put up a website and immediately start seeing orders come through online, even without having any sort of a payment gateway. Whereas in 2009, when I launched CorpNet, the landscape, the economic climate, everything had changed. And now we're in this new age of social media. So in my opinion, there's a lot of difference between how I ran my business back in the 1990s versus now. And I have never worked harder in my life than I do today.
It's funny because, that's what I've heard from a lot of other entrepreneurs because, they usually quit their day jobs to, follow their passion, follow their own desires to build their own company. And they always usually say, we end up working even more, but they usually enjoy it a lot more because it's working for their own company, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. I think the greatest thing about being an entrepreneur is just being able to shoot as high as you want and really do it within your own climate, within your own creative box without having any limitations, and being able to spread your wings as far and loud and high as you'd like to reach them. And I think that was one of the biggest realizations for me after selling my first company, because when we first sold, really, there wasn't any notion of us wanting to leave, but after the sale, it really lost its culture, its entrepreneurial spirit for us. And we thought it's perfect time for us to take some time off and really focus on growing ourselves as individuals, as entrepreneurs, focusing on my marriage with my husband and business partner of over 19 years now, and really focusing on our children, and had another kid on the way. And what it made me realize is that I really love being my own boss, and I really don't enjoy corporate America, and really like to start from scratch, create something out of nothing, and really create that culture that I envision wanting to be a part of on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in America have become burned out on corporate America. I think they've really just gotten burned out on the inner office politics, on some of the other practices in, corporate America. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of entrepreneurship now, of people sort of, starting their own stores. Like, you mentioned you started near, the .com boom. And when I look around today, I see a lot of businesses, starting up, and, there's not a brick and mortar store at all. Most of the time, they're sort of like they're an online store. And then if they're like a t-shirt company, they then just farm it out to another company. And then of course they farm it out to another company that ships the goods. So it's just, I think we're going to that now, where more people aren't going to have the traditional 9 to 5. It's going to be an entrepreneur job where, you make your own business, and or even become a freelancer, and you sort of start getting your clients and building it from there.
Yes, exactly. And frankly, I think in this day and age, it's really about the relationships and the reputation that you're creating out there and you're setting out there for yourself. Because to me, with this age that we're currently in, which is the social media digital era, it's really about that personal engagement and that client nurturing and cultivation, and the relationships that you build with the clients, that's going to determine the success of your business in the long run.
That's very interesting as well, because, as we're talking about entrepreneurship, I actually, up until a few months ago, I actually worked full time at a college. And, when we were actually talking about, creating a new course all about business, a lot of the professors were, there was nothing about this new age, about digital and social media. And I obviously I said something about that, and we ended up not making the course, but it got me thinking. I read a book a while ago about, college and where it's at today. And this guy basically said he thinks that a lot of college degrees and a lot of people going out in the real world now, they don't have the necessary tools to succeed, rather than if you just fresh out of high school went right in doing what you want in entrepreneurship. I kind of see his point. I mean, I don't know. Do you have a thought about that?
Here's the thing is, I think, personally, in my opinion, I think anybody who wants to become a successful entrepreneur, and if they really want to go through entrepreneurship, you can straight out of high school go into it. But in my opinion, I think it's super important to have education under your belt and get a college degree. Why? Because I think all of those junctures in our lives are, again, extra experience, and the courses that you're taking in college are geared towards somehow helping you becoming a better entrepreneur. For me, it has helped me a ton. I mean, I got my degree in business and marketing, and some of the classes that I took really helped me in my daily operations of running and growing my business. I'm not saying that every class I took helped, but I think, again, they're geared to be a tool and a resource to make you a better person in life and a better entrepreneur, if that's really the way you want to go. Others may have a different outlook on it, and others may have a different opinion on it. You may have those people who really have that vision, passion, and determination to really write out of high school want to start a business. And again, by all means, but I think it's really important to always better yourself and always improve yourself as a person and an entrepreneur. And if you choose not to go to college, then at least take some online courses to really strengthen your skills as a business person, if that's the route you want to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of online courses now, and I see it, with the massive online open courses, on Coursera, on Udemy, on Skillshare, and I sometimes wonder, if that's the future, if there would be basically you could just take what you want to take, meaning we would have to redefine what degrees are, but you know what I mean? Like, so it wouldn't be you taking like a traditional bachelor's degree, course or curriculum. You would take the courses that you were interested in, and they would either give you a certificate. What I've seen them do now is there's like a mini program. Like MIT, for instance, had their micro master's course, and basically it was like 5 or 6 online courses that you had to pass, and then you would be getting this what's called a micro master's, and it would be about a year's time rather than the traditional 2 years for a master's degree. It's just an interesting time to be alive because of all these different changes. And, I always like to get different people's, feedback about this and, what they're, experiencing in the quote unquote real world.
Well, here's my take on it. I have 4 children, and 2 of them are teenagers, and obviously they see me on a daily basis in my work attire and just juggling and trying to balance life with work, and they see my successes, and obviously it's a good enough reason for them to be all amped up and excited about, hey, I want to become successful like you, Mom, and I want to go into business for myself. But the one thing that I always tell my kids is that, well, success, it comes with experience. And my path for success was not only going and through high school, getting good grades, listening to my teachers, going and getting my 4-year college degree, but I also decided to go to law school because for me, every ounce of education that I received both through my college years and my graduate years was, again, experience underneath my belt. And this is from somebody who not only went to college and graduate school, but at the same time maintained a job through college and grad school. And every one of those experiences, in my opinion, has led and paved the way for me to be a better person, a better entrepreneur, and really has paved the way to my success today, because those were all experiences. And those interactions to me is what really led me to be who I am today. So I think the more you can expose yourself to tools and resources that can make you a better person, a more rounded person, by all means, go for it.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, Nellie, is your successes, because, I see what you're doing at CorpNet, and it's just, it's awesome. And, I wanted to sort of ask you now, if we were going to, let's just say, let's just say my friend and I, just to give an example, we're going to create a business, and we were going to come to something like come to CorpNet. What would you recommend? I mean, should we? You know what I mean? I know that's a very open-ended question, so I should probably reword that. So let's just say we came and we wanted to ask you, the question of LLC versus like S Corp and stuff like that. Because with film projects, they're a little bit different than say some other entrepreneurships because a movie in itself is its own entity.
Yeah.
So you build upon that. So if I was going to come to you with like a film project, what were some of the things that you would say, and what would you recommend between an LLC or maybe even something different than an LLC?
Absolutely.
I'm always interested to hear about this.
So let me back up for a minute and just give you a 2-second version of what CorpNet does. And then I can provide you with the differences in the business structures and what we see and would recommend as a resource to your audience. Our company, CorpNet, provides business filing services to startups, entrepreneurs, movie, film producers, anybody who's looking to start a corporation or LLC or any other type of business filing, or they have an existing business and want us to help them maintain the business structure. We provide the services online in all 50 states. And really what makes us different from all the hundreds of thousands of other competitors out there is our level of personal service and really the dedication we have to our clients from start to finish. So you can visit us online at www.corpnet.com. We have live chat experts standing by at any time of the day, Monday through Fridays, from 6 a.m. until 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But specifically, what makes us different is that we have a very, very large customer base of dealing with the entertainment industry and movie and film producers. So we probably have about 30% of our clients are in the film industry. And really, we consider ourselves experts in the field of really guiding your audience as to what's necessary, what type of legal document filings are required, and to be able to assist them and guide them into getting what they need. So in answer to your question, really for a person in the entertainment industry trying to set up a business structure for their movie or film, you can go either way, LLC or S corporation, because as you mentioned it, Dave, a movie, it's like an entity of its own. So one of the things that we recommend, because we deal with a ton of producers, is that they come with several different movies. Well, each movie should have its own entity. And as far as it being an LLC or an S corporation, it really, really depends on the level of formality that you want to deal with as far as that particular movie. With the S corporation, there's stricter requirements as to who can qualify, whereas with an LLC, it's a much more lax type of entity. Anybody can be a member of an LLC, and it's much less formal as far as the filing requirements that are required to bring the LLC into existence. In addition, the only piece of document that really controls the LLC is the operating agreement. So if you are trying to set up a movie and the people backing the movie up, some are in state, some are out of state, the LLC may be the better way to go because there are no requirements with the LLC that bar an out-of-stater to be a member of the LLC. But as far as the protection as to which one will afford you greater liability protection, etc., both the S Corp and the LLC offer liability protection. They both offer the double taxation avoidance, whereby you would otherwise have to pay by forming a C corporation. So it really depends on, again, the level of formality that you want to deal with, whether all the shareholders or members of that particular film are, residents of the U.S., are citizens of the U.S. If they are, then S corporation is a great way to go. Otherwise, the LLC is a great type of entity and the most favored within and amongst the film industry and the entertainment industry.
Because my experience, with LLCs came when we had to start buying insurance.
Correct.
Because when I was doing, student films, most student films are just, run and gun. They really don't have, doing it, the proper way. But when I started, getting into buying insurance, because we started doing, riskier stuff, whether you want to, blow up a car or whatever, the LLC, and then I would get the insurance, and then I could go from there. And that was a couple years ago when I actually the last time I actually produced something, that's what we did. We actually went the LLC route.
Yes. LLCs are really, really the favorite type of entity these days. Again, as I mentioned to you, it's great for a small business, and literally anyone can be a member of an LLC. It's a very, very informal. I refer to the LLC as the entity where you can have your cake and eat it too, because not only it provides you with all the liability and asset protection that you want in creating a business structure, but with limited formalities, with minimal formalities. So we can take care of it for you. It's offered in all 50 states. And again, we can take care of filing the LLC for you in any of the 50 states and all of the paperwork required to keep the LLC in compliance throughout the years the LLC is in existence.
So, Nellie, I wanted to ask, if a filmmaker listening to this, wanted to come to you about starting an LLC, is there anything they need to do beforehand before coming to you to start the LLC?
Actually, not really. I mean, typically speaking, for a film producer, we normally use the name of the movie as the name of the LLC unless they have another particular name that they'd like to use, such as their holding company, etc. But really what we need before they come to us is just the name, the members of the people that are going to be as part of the LLC, the business address, and then we take care of the rest. I mean, really, we take the hassle out of the movie producer doing all the legwork and bringing the LLC into existence. And then we become your partner throughout the lifetime of the LLC and helping you keep the LLC in compliance.
So what are some of the things, like the LLC, I've been, in my experience with the LLC, some of the things like a tax ID number usually comes up. So, what are some of the things that about being in compliance, that should, we be concerned about for the LLC to be in compliance?
So with our company CorpNet, we offer 3 different packages, and normally what I would recommend to any movie film producer or somebody in the entertainment industry is our deluxe or all-inclusive complete package, whereby not only we take care of handling the name check, we submit the paperwork to the state for filing for the LLC. Once the LLC is filed, we actually obtain and assign the tax ID number to the LLC, which is really the social security number for the LLC, that particular LLC, where the IRS can identify all the transactions associated with that particular LLC. And then once the tax ID is signed and we have all the paperwork, including the operating agreement, all drafted, we forward all the documentation to the particular client for that LLC, whereby it allows them to go open up the bank account and then start conducting business under the LLC. And then within a year or 2 after, depending on the state requirements, we can file all the statement of information, annual report filings, all the compliance filings that are due for that LLC within their state. In addition to, for example, if the general principal of the LLC likes to make any modifications to the LLC, add members, delete members, we can help them throughout the lifetime of the LLC with all those needs as well.
That's something that I've learned that you need on a film project is either, somebody who knows the legalities of things, because, when you get stuff like the tax ID number and you start getting, into sort of like, lots of legal documents, I've realized that you do need to have somebody who you can turn to and be like, what does this mean exactly?
Yes. And here's the great thing about our business, Dave, is that we assign you your own business filings expert, your own dedicated account rep. And we deal with a ton of high-end movie producers who will call here and, for example, deal with our senior filings expert, Amanda Barron, who is literally has been with the company since day one, is a walking encyclopedia when it comes to forming corporations and LLCs in all 50 states, but she's also our specialist in dealing with people who are within the entertainment industry and who'd like to form corporations or LLCs for their movies. So we will assign you not only to an expert, but an expert that has expertise in your field.
So, Nellie, I wanted to ask, we were talking about entrepreneurship, and I always wonder, where crowdfunding sort of comes into this, because, with the equity-based crowdfunding coming into law, I always wonder, where that would fall within the LLC, because now, with people being able to sort of buy into the project, I wonder if does that add, another dimension or two to your LLC?
I mean, we deal with all sectors, all verticals, and really we're here to service any type of client's filing needs that they require. So, in my opinion, whoever needs assistance with setting up a corporation or an LLC in whatever business vertical or sector they are, we can assist them.
That's good to know because, like I was saying before, with, having somebody in your corner, because I've been down that road before too. And it's just, I've never done equity-based crowdfunding. Because when I was doing crowdfunding, it wasn't around. But, even when you're doing perk crowdfunding, I had a producer on there going, is this legal? Should we get a lawyer on here? And I said, no. I said, it's through their own website, and they explained in their terms and agreements, what is entailed with this crowdfunding campaign. It's perk-based, et cetera, et cetera. But, I just wanted to ask because, with that becoming, be rolling out more and more, I just wanted to ask if that would, entail something completely different on top of the LLC.
No, not at all. And in fact, one of the notions and the lack of awareness out there that I wanted to address, which you just brought up, Dave, is the fact that there's still this lack of awareness that a corporation or LLC can be done on your own through a reputable online company, such as the services we provide here at CorpNet. And most often people think that they do have to go to an attorney or an accountant to get these filings done. Again, remember, this company and our other companies was found by an attorney husband and wife team. So we've been through law school. We are within the industry. My husband is admitted to the California State Bar. And frankly, you do not need a lawyer to form a corporation or LLC and merely act as a scrivener to file documents with the state. You can take care of these filings and more with the help of a company such as ours for literally 1/10 an iota of the price, and really save that money that you would otherwise pay to a legal professional and really use it when it comes handy when you actually need the assistance of a lawyer. So we're very capable and consider ourselves experts in the field and can handle all these filings and more in all 50 states.
So, Nellie, that's a good point you just brought up. And I wanted to ask, when it does come to time to dissolve the LLC, like if it was a film project, we've shot it, we've it's in post-production, it's being distributed, and it's there, there's comes a point in time when you have to dissolve that LLC, is that a complicated process?
Not at all. In fact, again, we handle dissolutions in all 50 states, and we can help you in dissolving the LLC at the end of the film project. It's just merely a document that needs to be filed within the state. And obviously, every state has different requirements. Some dissolutions are much more tedious and require much more filings than others. But again, we handle dissolution paperwork in all 50 states and can help you in dissolving the LLC as well.
So Nellie, now we've talked a lot about LLCs and, and making companies and everything like that. Is there any sort of challenges you see, in your daily or weekly, business from entrepreneurs or filmmakers? Is there any sort of mistake that you see a lot of that is almost like a common mistake that you see that people make?
I think oftentimes the most common mistakes that we see is, again, the filmmaker, the entrepreneur not having the due diligence or the information necessary, paying tons of money where they could have saved the money and come to a company such as ours to, form the legal paperwork for them. Oftentimes not having the correct information and filing the LLC in a state other than the state where the movie is being shot. Not doing their due diligence and making sure the name is available before forming the LLC. And then after the LLC is formed, not having the proper information to keep the LLC in compliance. So these are all mistakes that we've dealt with and oftentimes have to have fixed. So again, it could all be saved by having a reputable company take care of these filings for you and just calling us and having us do a free business consultation over the phone with you or taking advantage of our live chat feature.
So, Nellie, you brought up a funny, brought up something and it reminds me of a funny story that happened to me. I have a friend of mine who's an attorney on my, on my Facebook friends list. And when I started my production company, she actually sent me an email telling me that it was a bad idea. I mean, it was called Iron Fist Films, my production company, and she thought it was too close to the Marvel superhero Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but my Iron Fist is based off of Iron Fist training from Shaolin Kung Fu. That's 3,000 years old. And I was trying to go back and forth with her about this. But I mean, have you seen something similar like that happen where maybe a trademark was a little too close to home?
Absolutely. We deal with that on a daily basis because as part of our products and services, we offer trademark registration, search and filing services. And oftentimes people, as I mentioned to you, do not take the time to check on that name to make sure it's available before they start the business. And they don't take the additional necessary steps to do a further research of the name to see whether anybody has common law rights to that name, whether that name has a potential trademark right to it. And again, we can help and assist because we have all those tools on our website, such as the free name search, the free trademark search, that can provide you with the necessary information so that you are prevented on being on the wrong end of a trademark infringement suit potentially.
No, another funny story. It involves a friend of mine. He actually was a private investigator, and trademark lawyers would actually hire him out to go and investigate some different trademarks. And he actually had one time. These 4 guys started a company. They just opened up a actual physical store, and the name of the store was called Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, I don't think they made an LLC, but they just started the business called Apple. They had a logo outside. Their logo also was a green apple. And when he went in there to talk to them about it, they actually were like dumb. They were pretending they were dumbfounded, like, we don't know anything about this other apple. What are you talking about? Needless to say, they actually decided to shut it down when the trademark lawyers were like, look, we're going to sue you if you don't stop.
Yes, exactly. And that will happen. And again, you can save yourself a ton of headache and time if you just go about and do your due diligence before you start printing up business cards and letterheads and start using that name in commerce.
Yeah, it's I concur. That's when I used Iron Fist, I actually went through and I actually made sure it wasn't going to be a problem. But I know that, when her and I were talking, my attorney friend and I, she, brought that up just because she thought it was, too close. But again, mine is based off something completely different. That's a couple thousand years old. So I don't really know if anybody could actually trademark that. Although, I hear Budweiser is changing the name of their beer to America.
Yeah. I heard that too.
I don't know how they would be able to trademark America, but
that would be considered a generic term. So it's not trademarkable unless they do Budweiser / America or something like that. I'm sure they have a great team of legal experts working on that as we speak.
Nellie, we've been talking for about 30 minutes. I wanted to ask, is there anything that we sort of haven't discussed yet, or anything you wanted to maybe mention that we didn't get a chance to?
Actually, I think we've covered it all. And again, we'd love to assist any one of your audiences with any of their business filing needs or helping them set up a corporation or LLC in all 50 states. You can visit us online at www.corpnet.com. If you have any questions, feel free to email us to info@corpnet.com or just pick up the phone, call 1-888-449-2638. You can follow me on Twitter at CorpNetNellie or follow the company at Twitter at CorpNet. And then we're also on live chat Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. until 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
And that's awesome. And everyone, I will link to everything, all the links Nellie just said in the show notes as well. You can find me at davebullis.com. Twitter, it's at Dave_Bullis. Nellie, I want to say thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And, I want to wish you the best of luck with everything with CorpNet and, for helping all the future entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity, Dave.
Oh, my pleasure. Take care, Nellie.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Find Dave at davebullis.com. Please make sure to subscribe and share the podcast.